morning, sunshine. Welcome to an extended episode of the Make Your Damn Bed podcast. This is a super special one. I'm joined by an incredible guest,
Sherylle Bates, and I am super happy to be here and excited to be with you here, Julie. Really.
Heck yeah, a flawless execution. And I do need to say, we've had some practice.
Yes.
We've been going through it. Like, truly, we've tried to have this meeting, I think 3 times via email. We had to reschedule. And then now we got here today and just all the tech difficulties. But we are smooth sailing right now.
Absolutely. It's on and popping. Let's do it.
Yes, cruising. Welcome to the show, Sherylle. Do you have a little background for my listeners to just get a little intro of who you are?
Yes. So yeah, I have been, trying to decide what I was going to do with my next life. I call this my third best life. Like I always say, when we're younger, we have limited choices as children. And in our 20s, we make these choices that we end up in commitments for long periods of time. And then you get to a point in life where you decide to make what's happened, what's my next steps in life happen for me and be deliberate about it. And that's where I am now in my third best life. And what I love about it is what I actually chose to do was really be of service to people and offer different perspectives and, provoke thought. And that's what I want to spend my time doing, as an observer of life.
I mean, I think obviously the world can always use more of that, especially where we're at just socially. But I think it's a beautiful thing to have life in several forms too. This is like the first time I kind of took that perspective from hearing this, even is the idea that, we do kind of live more than one life. I think about that. I have like past chapters and experiences that I grew so much from, but it kind of sent me into the trajectory. And you just have to trust the process that eventually it will like all work out to make sense for a future version of yourself that you're kind of creating. But don't force it, don't rush it, because it's happening. Like, yes. Slow down, enjoy the slow times, enjoy the in-between.
Allow it to take shape, rest in it, acknowledge allow it to take shape.
Yeah, let it like a bread dough. Rest that baby.
Exactly.
So it's so funny. We have been discussing doing an episode on struggle for so long, and creating this episode has been the biggest struggle that I've ever had in podcasting history. And I've been podcasting for years. We're doing great.
Absolutely, we are doing great. And this topic is so funny because it's called The Struggle is Real. And it's one of the 3 o'clock in the morning topics. And that's how I fell into this, right? I wake up with all of these topics, like all of this shit on my brain, 3 o'clock in the morning, like, what's the difference between short-term and long-term decisions? And, all these things. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? So anyway, here I am. And so this one morning I woke up just thinking about different types of struggles in life and the fact that struggle is a part of life. And I know it's something that we often try to avoid. I know that it's something that we don't really want to go through. And because of that, sometimes we fight the struggle of it all, the emotion behind it, versus accepting that this is a part of life and dealing with what the actual struggle is. And the fact that these are all the, again, 3 o'clock in the morning, all the things, we get to maybe even choose what struggles we're willing to go through.
Totally. And like we were saying, some of the best things come out of a struggle. And now, because we've worked so hard for this, I really do think we've earned it. It makes the fruits so much sweeter. Absolutely. When you've gone through a little bit. And I'm not saying like certain struggles are definitely not under this umbrella that we're talking about. Obviously, some struggles that are unavoidable and kind of like bad struggles we're not going to talk about, but like, well, we might, but I'm just saying like the heavier ones. I'm talking more about the ones like you said that you get to choose. Like, should I worry about sending that email on my car ride, or should I worry about the ones that you're kind of debating over and regretting when you really don't have that much control?
Exactly.
Like, do you want to spend your time doing that? Probably not a great use of your power.
Absolutely. I could tell you the way that it all started out for me, the first time I ever thought about the concept of struggle was when my husband and I decided to move into another state, and life wasn't good. Life was just like, it was a struggle day to day. Jobs were tough. We had 3 kids. We were trying to figure out life. What is there to do next? How do we do it? But we knew and understood that everyday struggle. and we knew how to rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just very uncomfortable and all of
Yeah.
those stuff. And then we decided, let's try something different. Let's go to a
Mm-hmm.
place. And I'm not saying that we had the money to even do that. But it was just a different choice. And what made me think about it was when I made a decision, okay, yeah, let's do it. It was because I was thinking, well, I don't know what the turnout's going to be in the new state. Are we going to find jobs? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do all of the things? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I might be struggling over there to figure that out. But I know this struggle that I'm in right now, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
like
Exactly. It's like, what's the alternative? That's
that.
like, if the trajectory I'm going is terrifying for me to
Yes,
even be looking at a different trajectory. So
yes.
this is not an option anymore to me. And moves can just be refreshing, right? Like it can just be a time to reset habits because you're in a new place. It's like if you ever get a dog and you move into a new place, that's the time to teach them not to go on the couch there because they're in a new environment. It's much easier to process. This is not what we do in this house.
Yes.
And like we do that to ourselves too. And not saying we're all dogs, but some of us are, look in the mirror. I'm talking to you, all of my exes. No, I'm just kidding.
It's too funny. No, I totally get exactly what you're saying. We do get to choose the struggles that we are looking to live in. And I can't say we choose every one of them, right? There's some
Right.
that you
Yes.
may feel a little stuck in, but even those, I would venture to say, if we can get past the emotion that comes behind it, we can also how to get out of some of those struggles as well. I'm saying some of this stuff may take time.
Mm.
What I'm sometimes we deal with the fact that we hate this thing and we stay there instead of looking at how do we change this thing.
Wow.
And
That's profound.
you're struggling against the struggle.
Yeah, it really is like holding on to it. And honestly, as someone who has like some deep rooted childhood trauma stuff that I'm working on, there's some stuff that hides deep in it where you're like, oh, I'm actually comfortable. I create the struggle because that's what I grew up in. So like you have to like train yourself to like calm and to feel comfortable in calm first, which is a practice in its own. So for some of us, this is not everyone, but I think like that's a whole thing of like learning to be still and comfortable being still. Learning that can sometimes be really helpful in knowing what struggle you're creating. I mean, life is hard as is, like death happens and sickness happens and just like even like best case scenario, we all die, like best case scenarios, you're going to lose a loved one at some point. Like it sucks. Life is trash. If we can make it less trash by like choosing the struggle, I think that's so beautiful. Do you have like a definition for struggle? Because it is so vast, right? For so many of us, some is chosen, some is.
How do we define struggles? And when I'm speaking to it specifically, I'm speaking to it from a mindset perspective. It's something
Okay.
that you are tackling that you're uncomfortable with. It could be a condition or an environment that you don't like a job or where you are, a marriage, a place to live, a partnership, whatever it is, relationships. There is something that is not aligned with you being at peace now, and you don't see peace in the future with it, right? Sort of like what you described of rest. There is some turmoil there. There's something happened, and it's disruptive to you, right? So it could be, if I think that's the broad definition of it, but it shows up because of something else, right? It shows up because it can be something like your job that you're not happy with or a relationship you're not happy with. That's how it shows. And so for me at that time, in the example that I just shared, it was just overall life where we were. I was struggling with where I was and what I knew where I wanted to be or had the potential to be or wanted for the vision for my family. And it manifested itself as not being able to pay the bills because we didn't have a good job and all that other stuff, right? It
steamrolls quick.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. I really feel like obviously some hurdles are larger than others, and some are more avoidable than others, and some are like you can't go around, some you're just stuck with, and some will come back and some will like re-show it. Yeah, it's so interesting. So do you think that there is a difference between the struggle and the suffering that can come from the struggle?
Absolutely. The suffering part is the emotion part of it, right? Because the more you focus on how terrible the struggle is, because I mean, that's what makes it a struggle. You're unhappy. You're like I said, it's a discomfort. But
Yeah,
sometimes we can begin to suffer from the actual struggle itself. As I was saying before, like it's the suffering part of it is how you emote over what you're dealing with. And I'm not saying a person shouldn't emote. I can be quite emotional. My children,
totally.
it's because I have a Cancer moon or something like that. But I can be quite emotional, and it's okay. I feel like emotions are okay. I feel like it has a place.
Stress hormones and tears. You can't tell me it's not good to cry.
Right, exactly, exactly. But for me personally, I also choose not to stay there.
Right.
That's
That's the
what I'm
thing.
talking about. It's
Yeah.
not go through it, don't stay there.
Feel it, don't live in it.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the difference between struggle and suffering in a struggle.
Yeah, invite the suffering to come stay the night, but he
Yes,
cannot live in your house.
no,
He is
not
not allowed to overstay his welcome. He needs to take a shower, he needs to wash his face, and he needs to get the heck out of here. I love that. Okay. Okay.
so that's the
Suffering is like the unwelcome guest that you're like, oh, I gotta have him in because otherwise, if I leave him, he's gonna be annoying outside and he's
right.
gonna fester and he's gonna ruin the lawn.
Yes, yes. They don't contribute to anything. All they do is
Right.
pull.
Yeah. And if you ignore him, he's just gonna piss all over your side of your house. You just really gotta let him in. You
Exactly.
gotta deal with his dumbass in a while, once in a while, but you really gotta like keep him in check. Yeah, that's so interesting. It's like the stepbrother you never asked for.
Ex- Exactly.
So what's like a good way or like a good indicator, even if it's a personal one or if you have one for other people, to indicate whether you're making struggle for progress, like you said, like it's a struggle we're struggling for, or if it's not, or if it is like a self-inflicted.
It's really how you process it and how you manage your expectations, right? And I know that sounds so cliche. Everybody's like, you got to manage your expectations. But the reality of it is,
It's true.
if you're looking at a situation that you're struggling in and you're blaming all of the other circumstances as to why you're in this situation, then you're not dealing with the actual struggle itself, right?
Yeah.
Listen, like I said before, it sounds good because I'm talking about it and it sounds like it's a quick answer and a quick fix.
Right.
None of this shit is quick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey.
It's like you're going through certain processes. I told you a story, but it took us a month before we decided what we were going to do, right? Certain things take time. So as you're allowing yourself to process this out and looking at, okay, what don't I like? What can I like? How can I begin to change this? What are some of the other possibilities? Instead of looking at the struggle itself and just being unhappy with the struggle, the switch becomes how do I change what I'm unhappy about?
Yeah.
You're not meant to stay there. It's a life lesson. What lessons should I be learning at this? What else should I be giving a try?
Yeah, maybe it's walk away from the puzzle for a while. Like it's like get fresh eyes, go get a new perspective. And
Yes.
like I really think one of my life mantras for since I was a kid is like high hopes, low expectations. Expect the worst, hope for the best,
Mhm.
and know that it's going to probably fall somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Preparing for the worst can get you really, really excited when it's anywhere better than that. There is psychology behind the fact that if we go into something with the wrong perspective, of just that Walmart commercial from years ago that I love, and it's such a cliche science experiment, but we all fall for it, where if you dress something up and you package it properly, they're like feeding these people steak and they're like, oh, how much would you pay for this steak? What do you think? And it's a 5-star dining environment. And then they're feeding people steak at like a Waffle House.
Right.
And it's Walmart steak. And all the people are shook. They're like, what? This steak's a steak. Like, you know what I mean? It's really not that, but it's the environment you're paying for it. But then there's this expectation that's the opposite, where if you go in and something's been hyped to death, even
Yes.
if it's delicious, you
Yes.
will find something to critique. So like if you're at the top, the only way is down. Like if you're at the bottom, then you can kind of. So I really say with your own expectations to keep your shit in check, keep it expecting the worst, and then you're always going to be satisfied when it's better than that.
I have a similar thought, and my thought is just to expect that struggles are a part of life.
Yeah.
Stop trying to avoid them.
Yeah.
Struggle, if and it's true for everything in life, right? I mean, even if you look at nature, you look at a chick trying to get out of an egg or a butterfly trying to get out of a cocoon. That's not easy. It's a struggle to get out of that, right? And it helps you grow and progress depending on how you leverage or how do you
Yeah, the
learn
learning.
from those
Hmm.
struggles, right? It's not something that's a quick fix or an easy thing to do. Because even if you were to help that chick get out of the egg because, oh my God, they're struggling, they can't get out,
Right.
it's shown that they usually die.
Yeah, it's the butterfly, the chrysalis. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, the whole
yeah.
thing. Yeah, so that's what I mean by as far as expectations. How I agree with you with expectations, because if you just say, okay, this is going to be a part of life, how is it still going to get me to where I want to go? And you manage that
Yeah.
expectation rather than fighting the fact that it's an actual struggle and it shouldn't be happening to me, and all of these other things that we tell ourselves, we begin to say, well, okay, I get it. This is a struggle. What am I supposed to learn from this? And how do I, and you begin to usher in other thoughts, and like I said, you get to choose, how do I want to approach the struggle, right? Do I stay in it because I'm comfortable with it and I
Yeah.
know very well it's been living with me for a while, or do I step out and deal with the struggle of the unknown, which is
Yeah.
a huge struggle in and of itself,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's when we all start. I can talk all the smack that I want, but I really do struggle with waiting and pausing and being still and the unknown and like what's next and when am I going to get it and why I've worked really hard, when am I going to see the results and those sorts of things. It's only getting worse because we're in the world of immediate gratification. There's literal hubs for porn and grub. So like, like we
Yes.
we we're doing everything quickly and it's really hard because it's a quote from some old psychologist white guy that got probably credited with someone else's words, but it was, the better this feels now, the worse I know it's going to feel later, and the worse this feels now, the better I know it's going to feel later. And it's obviously not always true and not indicative of everything else, but it really is about that struggle being like worth the payoff. If you
Yes.
struggle now, you're earning for future you. But what do you do in that downtime? I think the best analogy for me is the ice cube. An ice cube will not actually become solid ice until it hits 32 degrees, but
Right.
it's still getting so much colder, and it couldn't get to 32 if it wasn't at 31 and 30 and 29 and 28. But you don't see any of the progress until, or like the guy who cracks the rocks, like these people, they'll hit the rock in the same spot 1,000 times and it's not anything, and then eventually it just splits this whole giant rock in half, and it's not because of the last hit, it's the compounding thing. But you have to wait. That breaking point is such a long time away from when you start. How do you wait? Sorry, that was so long to ask. How do you wait?
And then it really is. It is about managing your expectations and understanding that it's a part of the process, right?
Hmm.
The expectation we need to manage is that we think, like you said, it's instantaneous and we have an exact picture of what it's supposed to look like, or with the unknown, we don't know what it's supposed to look like, right? And that's what freaks us out. But it's all of the little steps, it's all of the little bits, it's all of the little things that get us there. So expect that I am getting there, and don't look at the expectation of whatever there is, if that makes any sense. Manage the little expectation of, I'm getting there. If I do this, it'll happen this way. What I was saying before about the unknown
Yeah.
also is the beautiful thing about the unknown for all of us who are afraid of the unknowns. And
Hmm.
what if, and how is this going to work out, and all the things, and you beating yourself up in the head. If you step into it, eventually it'll be known.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between the struggle of what you know and what you don't know. You already know that struggle. This struggle is unknown, and that's the struggle that you're dealing with. I don't know what the outcome
At
is going to
least it's a new one.
be, but eventually you will know.
Uh-huh.
Eventually you will know
And
what
you
it
can
is
always go back to your old struggle if you choose.
if you so choose. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like, this is a worse struggle, let's go back to the old struggle. Like, it's so true. Like, there's always, yeah, if you're not upgrading your struggles,
Right.
you can't know until you know what other struggles are out there. That's a great way to put that. I
Upgrade your struggle.
Yeah, upgrade the struggle. That's the goal, right? Like, I would much rather be worried about changing the oil in my Mercedes than I would in my Kia. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I
it's
love
like,
that. Yes.
so I really think there's also that concept of like, wait for the results, worry about the results when you get there. Like, it's like if that's the concern, sure, that can be a motivation, but that should be temporary, because really the struggle is most of it. So if you're really only worried about the result, you're getting one second and one glimpse of joy, when
Yeah.
you can actually worry about making the process enjoyable and knowing that the struggle is actually part of the process. So a big thing for me too is trying to make struggles more enjoyable. So like, nobody likes doing dishes, so turn on music, like pour yourself a coffee for right after. Making the struggle that is essential something that's actually doable and like joy filled for you, because that's most of the time.
Yes, that's true. You know what's a great example of that? Exercise.
Yeah.
I love hate exercise.
Yeah. Same. Same. Hard
It's
same.
it's a struggle, a real struggle. And
Genuinely.
don't let me stop exercise. Like if I'm exercising and I'm in a zone and I'm like, yes, getting up every morning and being consistent, don't let me stop. Because the moment I
Right.
stop, getting back into it is the actual struggle. But I know what keeps me going is the more that I stick with it, eventually I'm going to have a particular outcome,
Yes.
even though I hate doing it in that moment and living in it in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to lift that weight one more time.
Right. But momentum, like you said, momentum is far more important than motivation. So just keeping
Absolutely.
up with it, staying persistent, even if you do 2 minutes a day, as being a person that shows up to the gym, it's really about like creating a part of your identity too, is being like, I'm somebody who doesn't miss workouts, as opposed to like, I'm somebody who wants to get skinny, or I want to get strong, or I want
Yeah.
to change my body. It's like, no, because if you want to change your body, then you're going to find excuses not to, and it doesn't happen fast, and you're not going to see the results. You need something you can see the results of, checking
Exactly.
off the box of going to the gym, or at least like showing up on your punch card, finding a reason to go. And if it's not the gym, because I'm not a gym goer, but I've been playing like Just Dance, and as long as I break a sweat 3 times a week, I'm happy.
Yes.
So do something.
I'm the same. So late, because I'm not a big gym goer too, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I do love video games, and I've been struggling to get back on my track. So what I said I'm going to do, and this is what I'm about to start all over again, is I just walk. All I
Yeah.
do is commit to walk. It's just that one little thing. Let's just walk. But I added a little thing to it this time because I love video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, anytime you want to play this video game, you're allowed to play it if you walk on your treadmill. So
That's smart.
and I get so caught up in the video game walking that I forget, so there's different ways to deal with the struggles.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, to either distract or whatever. But what is the game?
It's a cooking game right now that I'm really into. It's some where you're cooking and serving. And what I love is that it's different kind of meals. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? I'm a foodie, right? So it's all these different kind of meals. So in one city, it could be breakfast foods. And in another city, it can be something like, steak and stuff. And you got to get it out to everybody in enough time. I am so engrossed in this that I forget. I look up and it's 45 minutes that I've been walking, and I've walked a mile or so. And I'm like, okay. So that's
so smart. I've never thought of doing it. I always pace in front of the TV whenever I'm watching TV. Sometimes if I need movement, but that's a really good one because I too get sucked. That still feels like work, but this one you do get so sucked into these games.
I am so sucked into the game that when I look like, and this is no lie, I'm so embarrassed to say this. I told myself 45 minutes before my first call, right? And so I was like, okay, you're gonna play the game 45 minutes on the treadmill. Let's do it. I looked up and right before the game, it was at 43 minutes. And I was like,
one more.
Always.
I understand. It's so addicting.
It is. And I ended up walking an extra 10 minutes. So I actually walked for almost an hour, and I was like, listen, you got 5 minutes to jump on this call. So you got to get over right now.
That's so funny. It's very relatable. I was playing mine before we had our call too. So we really are soulmates through and through. I love chatting with you, and the time flew by.
Yes, it did. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for letting me share the struggle is real, because I really just want people to be free to know that we're all going through it. And we get to choose what it looks like when we really stop and think about it, right? Just add a different perspective to what struggle is.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us. Where can we find you?
So everything is at Sherylle Bates. So I'm on Instagram at Sherylle Bates. The site is SherylleBates.com. LinkedIn is Sherylle Bates. It's all Sherylle Bates. So it can keep it super simple for everybody.
Nice. For my audio listeners, do you mind spelling it for everybody?
Sure. It's Sherylle. So think Cheryl with an extra LE,
Mhm.
and last name Bates. Brains and talent equal success.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, thanks for being here. Enjoy your happy hour. It was well freaking earned with this struggle today. I know it's going to be that much sweeter because you've been through this. You earned it.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. And I hope you can come on my podcast one day too.
I would love that. Yeah, let me know.
We're recording now.
Okay. What's beautiful is we are making it happen. And
Yes.
this one is going to work. No tech difficulties. We've got the right vibes, even though I
Yes.
see it robot voicing, but that's okay. We sound good.
Is it robot voicing? Because I hear you really well.
Oh, okay, good.
I am going to enjoy every part of happy hour.
You have absolutely earned it.